we talked about Eric Bieniemy just last week and talked about whether he should get a job or not in the NFL as a head coach. And, the whole Washington staff is getting fired after this season. It's just a matter of who lands where. I think Eric Bieniemy has already proven his point of being an offensive coordinator who probably had more to do with the success than he's given credit for in Kansas City. Because right now, the common denominator seems to be him leaving Kansas City and Mahomes not looking ordinary, but definitely not Mahomes-esque, and things aren't going well offensively. Whereas you go to Washington, the Commanders aren't winning games. But look at Sam Howell in his second season coming out of North Carolina. Now he's under Eric Bieniemy, putting up absolutely ridiculous numbers. He's passed for more yards than Mahomes so far this season. Now, granted, he's a second-year player. He didn't play the whole season last season. He got in eventually, but he's played the whole season so far. He has more passing yards. He's thrown more interceptions, but not by a lot than Mahomes. He's completing just under 60% of his passes, but you would expect that from a second-year player until he starts getting back on track, unless you're C.J. Stroud. But still, he's putting up those numbers, and nothing's changed there in terms of him putting up the numbers, and he's done it with lesser players. I think Eric Bieniemy was the brains behind it offensively, not just Andy Reid overseeing what he was doing.
Yeah, I just got to say, I think you're coming down on Mahomes a little too hard. It's not his fault.
No, it isn't.
They dropped 33 passes. He was like Tom Brady, his ex-wife said, he can't throw it and catch it. That's the same thing for Mahomes.
It's the truth. But I mean, the difference between last year and now this season, but
it's not because his passes are off.
No, his passes are there. They're dropping the passes. But everyone is going to drop passes eventually. It just happens to be with Mahomes. People seem to drop a lot more passes this year than they've ever done since he's been there. But still, with Howell throwing the ball the way he has, he's thrown it, I think, over 500 times already. But the yardage that he's putting up, and someone else told me about it today. Well, he's also throwing a whole lot of passes, but that's also for a second-year player, more opportunities to pick it off. And the pickoffs aren't coming up, not commensurate with the numbers in which he's passing. Peyton Manning threw the ball a whole lot when he came. We saw the interceptions too. Drew Bledsoe threw the ball a lot, and we saw the interceptions. Wow. Sam Howell isn't getting those interceptions or throwing them.
So you mentioned the entire Washington staff is gone. What if they offer the job to Bieniemy?
Wow. You know what? Offensively, because defense seems to be their issue as they've gotten rid of players.
Well, you traded two defensive
Exactly. Men. They've gotten rid of some players, the top two defensive players they have and on the defensive line. So they could offer it to him.
Thank you, because Sweat's playing well.
I think that if they offered to Eric Bieniemy, how does that look? You get rid of the entire staff, you keep Bieniemy. He brings in his guys. He has to do.
Who cares how it looks? If he's the only one doing well.
I would like to believe that I'm not the only one who sees this. I'm supposed to be just a layman compared to the people who know how to hire these people and know what they want when they do it. There are a lot of teams out there who are offensively deficient, in which Eric Bieniemy can slip right in. Now, at the same time, we're talking about his ability to make offenses work and his ability to make offenses better with the plays he has, especially a second-year player. But the attitude he has, we talked about that earlier in the season as well, before the season started, when players were going back to ownership or going to the head coach, actually, going to Ron Rivera saying, he needs to kind of tone it down a little bit. But
get him off our back. Man.
Yeah, get him off our back. So that kind of another story for another day, letting you know what today's players are all about, man. You can't talk to them like
those were the running backs, right?
Running backs?
If I remember, was it running backs or receivers?
I think it was I wonder if it was the
Howell.
Period.
It wasn't Howell, and if the quarterback's cool with it, well, then everybody else got to fall in line.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And now I think Sam Howell's even more cool with it because he's succeeding with it. It's just that the team isn't succeeding as a whole. But nevertheless, I think there are enough teams out there, and he should have his pick up jobs when these offensively deficient teams need a coach. I think he needs to get the job. I don't think it's a far cry that Eric Bieniemy may have been the brains behind the offense. Mahomes is Mahomes, and I know players are dropping an inordinate amount of passes this season compared to almost anyone in the NFL. But that happens. You still have to overcome it. Over in Washington, Sam Howell doesn't have excellent players to throw to. I mean, it's not like they have him over there, but there's still Travis Kelce in Kansas City. He has Curtis Samuel. I mean, not a bad player, but not run the mill either. He has a lot of talent, but that's
I hear what you're saying. Mahomes has to overcome it, but it's hard when you put the ball in the guy's hands at the 4-yard line. And he's open by 3 yards and he drops it.
Yeah.
What do you do? It's hard when you hit a guy right in the chest for the first down and he drops it.
And that's true. It happens so much.
I don't know. Like, I hear what you're saying. I don't see him playing poorly. I don't think his play has dropped. It's just if those guys let's say they only drop 12 balls. That's 21 balls that they catch. Right? Yeah. That's probably 3 touchdowns, 7 first downs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the numbers are different. The games are different. Especially the week 1, the one that went through Tony's hands for the pick 6.
That guy had a terrible week.
That's a loss. That's a loss right there. They shouldn't have.
Yeah, but I know
he might want to start throwing the ball at their face mask, because throwing it to their hands obviously isn't working. I don't know.
Throw it to the face mask and hope it sticks in the hole. Yeah. But he has Travis Kelce, who's been banged up all season but still making plays. But then you look at what happens up there at Washington. They just can't really seem to win when they really need it. But Sam Howell's been slinging that ball, man. He's been putting up some serious yards, getting the touchdowns, throwing a handful of picks based on what he's throwing out there, so it looks good. But he also has that running back, Brian Robinson, not so bad this year. Coming back from a gunshot just last year. Come on now. But before his rookie year, he's averaging over 4 yards a carry, so I think that also helps out a bit. With Pacheco injured on and off, he's getting his yards when he's in there, but he's not in there often anymore. But yeah, Mahomes is having a whole different set of issues because of his receivers outside of Kelce being reliable. Mahomes isn't the one that's really hurting. I think I'm really pointing out how much better Sam Howell is than he probably should be this time, and I think it's really attributed to what Eric Bieniemy has brought to the team and how people looked at it. You heard ad nauseum how it was Andy Reid, because I was one of the guys who was saying it. Andy Reid's overseeing it. There's no way he's really that good as an offensive coordinator. He's shutting it all up now. He's doing it up there in Washington. They're not getting the results and the wins and losses. But when you look at the stats that count, the stats that matter, well, outside of wins and losses, his young protege, Sam Howell's getting the job done behind center. And just imagine Eric bringing that same energy and things that he might have learned along the way when they did tell coach about him. Maybe he goes to the next job kind of knowing how to deal with people.
Right. And where will his next job be?
What
if Coach Prime leaves? What if Coach Prime leaves?
You know what? I just can't see if Coach Prime leaves and comes to the NFL.
Wherever he goes, that opens up Colorado.
If Coach Prime did leave, Eric Bieniemy would damn sure be a hell of a coach to have in Colorado. Yeah, I remember his days. I don't. With all of these young people watching football these days, I don't think they realize how good a player Eric Bieniemy was when he was at Colorado.
Probably
short
not.
Dude, overachiever, I guess, because he was so short. But that guy was stout, powerful, fast. He did everything out there. He did fumble a bit too.
I don't think his playing prowess will have anything to do with it. They're like,
no. I'm just saying, being the legend that he is.
But I'm saying he can get recruits because he's coming from the NFL as a top-notch OC. Yeah.
Yep, and knowing what he's doing, because I think there's still so many people out there who don't believe that Deion Sanders knows really what he's doing. And I don't know how they can think that, but I think that seems to be somewhat of a consensus. Because when you read some of these comments that people make, and they're acting like he's still just brand new to the game of football, instead of just being brand new to Division 1A football, they make it seem like this guy never played before. Now he's going to know how it is to play with big dogs. He's played with the biggest of dogs before, so this isn't any different.
Yeah, I don't know. Haters are going to hate.
Yep, haters are going to continue to hate. But yeah, that was just interesting point to bring up with Eric Bieniemy being the guy doing what he's doing up there in Washington. I'm watching it all season because specifically I was interested in it, because I was like, when he goes to Washington, we're going to see for sure if he knows what he's doing. Win or loss, his imprint will be there. Right now, it's looking better than
what you said. you said, Eric Bieniemy in Chicago. It's a possibility. Ryan Poles came from Kansas City, so
that's true. You know what? That's true, and it would be interesting to see what he can do with Justin Fields up there. I mean, really. I mean, if he's making that big of a difference,
because they're saying Harbaugh's getting a nice extension, so maybe the odds of him leaving have lessened.
Bro, that was all window dressing, them acting like they were upset and all these suspensions that came out. Michigan's just acting like, oh, I'm appalled about what he had done. About how about this extension? We see what you're doing. We want a lot more of this in the future.
And well, they did pull it off the table, but I guess getting to the playoffs as the number one team changes things.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's true because I watched him put this thing together from scratch, man. I remember him at San Diego, the freaking Terriers, before he ended up moving along and ended up in Michigan. But yeah, man, he gets exactly what he deserves. I know people probably don't want to hear it, but hey, that's the way things are.